Holiday makers travel in and out of the city on May Day holiday. East Dam of the High Island Reservoir is busy with visitors. And Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun paid tribute to workers across Hong Kong for their hard work. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Today is Labor Day. That also marks the start of the mainland's May Day Golden Week holiday. As of 4 p.m., more than 750,000 travelers' trips passed through various border checkpoints in Hong Kong. On the first day of the mainland's Golden Week holiday, Shenzhen Bayport was bustling with holiday makers. Crowd control measures are in place. This mainland traveler says she is planning to take her kids to beaches in Hong Kong. The beaches here are cleaner with fewer tourists, the husband says. The Labor Day public holiday today also means a 3-day-long weekend for Hong Kongers. Some residents chose to head to the mainland for a day trip. At the West Kowloon High-Speed Rail Station, crowds thronged the departure hall.
We are going for a night, so 2 days. Yes, and we're going to explore the fashion warehouses, we're going to explore the street food. We just want to get a feel for the whole place, so we don't mind the busy rush.
I have all my tickets and all my all booked for where I'm going. I planned ahead and I know there will be a lot of people, but we'll see.
On the arrival side, hordes of visitors arrived early in the morning. Some tourists are also looking to explore iconic film locations in Hong Kong.
I have watched a lot of Hong Kong movies, and I plan to explore some places like the filming spot of the famous movies, right? Like 花样年华, and I'm a big fan of Leslie John. Yeah, and I hope to experience the life that he spent, right?
The Immigration Department predicted that around 6 million passenger trips will pass through various Hong Kong control points throughout the Golden Week holiday. Among them, around 980,000 are mainland visitors. The holiday vibes extend to downtown, including the tram station in Central. This internet-famous cha chan tang, or casual restaurant in Jordan, attracted many tourists. This Jiangsu tourist says mainland social media platforms including Weibo, Meituan, and Rednote recommend a plethora of Hong Kong eateries and dishes, from roast geese to braised delicacies sold at roadside stalls. The Golden Week holiday also coincides with the birthday of a folk military god of wealth and draws multiple tour groups to take a spin at the Siksik Yun Wong Tai Sin Temple. Scores of tourists flock to Sai Kung for the May Day holiday, with the Sai Kung East Country Park being a must-see landmark for many. Timothy Lee has more.
Tourist hotspot East Dam of the High Island Reservoir was already packed with visitors this morning, many of them coming from the mainland. Mr. Chen from Shenzhen said he has been to Hong Kong a few times, but it was his first time visiting the dam, adding that he enjoyed the local atmosphere. But due to the rapid increase of visitors in the area, many tourists chose to take taxis, causing heavy congestion and even situations where people and vehicles competed for road space. One man was suspected of being bumped into by a taxi, resulting in an arm injury. Police officers were on site directing traffic, with traffic controls being temporarily implemented. The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department website indicated more than 1,000 people were visiting the East Dam at the same time at around noon. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Marking Labor Day, Hong Kong's statutory minimum wage has been raised to $43.10 per hour, starting today. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun says the government will continue to improve labor conditions. In a Labor Day post on social media, Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun paid tribute to workers across Hong Kong, saying their hard work has contributed to the city's prosperity and stability. He says several labor policies made progress last year. Among them, the minimum wage increase takes effect this month, calculated under a new annual review mechanism that takes inflation and economic growth into consideration. The adjustment ensures wages keep pace with market conditions to protect the purchasing power of grassroots workers. Earlier, Sun visited delivery workers in To Kwa Wan at the invitation of the Federation of Trade Unions and experienced the work firsthand. He says the government is studying legislative improvements to the work injury compensation system for platform workers and plans to introduce proposals within this year. Sun also said the government plans to submit amendments on a smoking ban at construction sites to the Legislative Council by mid-year. Meanwhile, Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Chok Wing Hing visited a shipyard in Qingyi on Labor Day and toured its mechanical workshop with new boxes prepared. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mei Chan visited the MTR Wheelset Maintenance Center in Ho Man Tin and frontline maintenance staff there. Meanwhile, more than 10 members of the Hong Kong Women Workers Association took to the government headquarters, calling for stronger labor protections. Their petitions include a suspension on importing foreign labor and an extension of maternity leave. Activities were held across the world to mark International Labor Day. Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto joined a rally in the country's capital, Jakarta, greeting thousands of workers marking Labor Day. But some workers voiced their concerns. Tracy Furness has more.
Indonesian workers arrive at the venue near Jakarta's National Monument, where the May Day rally was taking place. Everyone seemed to be in good spirits. Crowds cheering with the arrival of Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto. Musical performances kept the crowd entertained. This group dancing, but is there anything to dance about? This Indonesian worker said our welfare is lacking. Other things such as outsourcing should be abolished. This man said, with the current state of war, labour conditions are affected. For example, the price of raw materials is becoming increasingly difficult to find and expensive, especially plastic raw materials. In the Philippines, wages were on the forefront of people's minds. These banners reading, "Raise wages, lower taxes, nationwide strike." The Association of Minimum Wage Earners, too, were out in force. And anti-war demonstrators joined the protest, this massive banner reading, "Down with the US imperialism." Near the US Embassy in Manila, workers clashed with police. The holiday here is also known as International Workers' Day, marking the struggles and achievements of workers and the labour movement around the world. Protest leaders say they expect bigger crowds of workers demanding higher wages following spikes in fuel and commodity prices. More clashes with police in Istanbul, Turkey, as 15 protesters who tried to reach Taksim Square in defiance of a government ban were arrested. Turkish government have long declared Taksim off limits for rallies and demonstrations on security grounds. But some political parties and trade unions have vowed to march to the square, which holds symbolic value for labour unions. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, hospital authority will extend visiting hours in public hospital wards before the end of July. Uber is buying homegrown taxi hailing app Fly Taxi. And Donald Trump removes tariffs on Scotch whiskey following visit of King Charles. Welcome back. The hospital authority will extend visiting hours in phases at non-acute public hospital wards prior to the end of July. The visitation period will be extended to 9 hours, with the exception of pediatric wards, which will be open to visitors 24 hours each day. This as the scheme will first be implemented at the HA's Kowloon Central Cluster starting tomorrow. Timothy Lee reports.
Mr. To's 81-year-old mother, who sought treatment at a public hospital for a severe case of pneumonia, was required to be hospitalized on a long-term basis. But limited visiting hours have long been a source of frustration for her son.
我本身係輪班工作啦。
Mr. To said his job often requires him to work on night shifts, meaning that he could only visit his mother during the morning, adding that his lack of rest and heavy traffic often results in the visitation period being over by the time he arrives at the hospital. Under the hospital authority's latest measure, visiting hours in non-acute public hospital wards, such as the rehabilitation and infirmary wards, will be extended from the original 5 to 6 hours to at least 9 hours. As for pediatric wards, the visitation period will be extended to 24-hour access. The updated scheme will be implemented in phases before the end of July.
所有人呢都係逼晒響嗰啲位置。
Dr. Danny Tong, a chief manager at the hospital authority, said the previous arrangement often led to large crowds being packed in the same facility, adding that the new measure will be a major boost in convenience for all visitors. But Tong stressed the extended hours do not apply to internal medicine, surgical, or orthopedic wards, which will remain open to visitors for only 4 hours a day. The hospital authority said it will assess the results of the measure and consider expanding the scheme to emergency wards in future. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Uber has announced the acquisition of Hong Kong's homegrown taxi hailing app, FlyTaxi. In a statement, Uber did not disclose the acquisition price. The hailing platform says FlyTaxi will continue its operations after the acquisition. Uber's general manager Aston Chung says, combining FlyTaxi's deep local expertise and Uber's technology, the move will help accelerate the digitization and expand the market of the city's metered taxi industry. Many mainland visitors said they continue to find products in Hong Kong's retail sector attractive in regards to price and quality. This, as Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao believes, the mainland's Golden Week holidays will bring about a surge in tourists to the city, adding that the Greater Bay Area provides the city with newfound opportunities. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Hong Kong's retail sales have been on an upward trend for 10 consecutive months. On Tsim Sha Tsui Canton Road, the upscale shopping district saw lines of mainland tourists eagerly waiting to make their purchase. A Hangzhou tourist said she came to buy some handbags and jewelry, while this visitor said he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars just on bags alone, hailing the city's retail sector for its diverse choices as well as Hong Kong's international environment. Some tourists said retail prices in the city are cheaper than the mainland. Speaking earlier at an event, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao said opportunities still remain for the retail sector. He said the crowds of tourists entering the city during the Golden Week holidays are a healthy sign, emphasizing that further integration into the Greater Bay Area could provide new opportunities. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Britain's King Charles III has arrived in Bermuda on his first visit to a British overseas territory as king. This as U.S. President Donald Trump said he is removing certain tariffs on Scotch whiskey after this week's White House visit by the King and Queen Camilla. Tracy Furness has more.
Britain's King Charles disembarked the plane, walking onto the tarmac after arriving in Bermuda, shaking hands with Governor of Bermuda Andrew Murdoch and speaking to other officials who were there to welcome the King. Bermuda's government said the King's visit will celebrate the many contributions the people of Bermuda make in their communities within the wider British family and beyond. His programme includes a meet and greet with Commonwealth athletes ahead of their participation in the Summer Glasgow Commonwealth Games, as well as members of youth organisations from across the island. The King's visit to Bermuda comes following his 4-day state visit to the United States with Queen Camilla, who left the US separately to return to the UK. Earlier Thursday, US President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump bid a formal farewell to King Charles III and Queen Camilla as their state visit came to an end. Standing outside the White House, Trump called Charles the greatest king. And as the royals pulled away from the White House a short time later, the president continued, "Great people, we need more people like that in our country." Speaking with press back in the Oval Office after the royal visit, Trump said he's removing certain tariffs on Scotch whiskey.
But Kentucky, with the bourbon, and Scotland with the whiskey, and they've had trade for years and years and years, and a lot of restrictions. I just took all the restrictions off. So Scotland and Kentucky can start dealing again. And I did it in honor of the King and Queen who just left.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Former Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been moved from prison to house arrest, and her sentence has been reduced as part of a prisoner amnesty for a Buddhist holiday. Suu Kyi was detained February 1, 2021, when Myanmar's army seized power from her elected government. She has not been seen publicly since then. The message announcing her transfer says she was moved from the main prison in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw, to house arrest, with the action made to celebrate Buddha Day to demonstrate the state's benevolence and goodwill. It adds that she will now serve the remainder of her sentence at a specific home instead of in prison. And that's the news. Happy holiday, and thank you for watching.